Chapter 25 Military Cadance. Chapter 25 Military Cadance. Alright, I have to figure out Cadance's voice for this chapter. Hey, Desk! Welcome! You are the first person to pop into the stream. It's almost as if you were waiting. But welcome. Yep, you definitely beat Drake, so so yay. Oh, I think I think Drake finally what do you win? You get to hear my rambling a little bit longer than Drake does. Ah, man. And you can also try and see as I come out for voice for Cadance. Ah, man, I probably should have thought about how to voice Cadance earlier today. Hey, Drake, welcome to the stream. And you both just like popped in right then. I thought that said "sock a deer" right for a second there, and I'm like, why would you hit a poor deer? Why would you hit the king of the forest? Now, the thing is that Tyndaga or Bambi? I don't know. We could probably decide later. Huh. No, I already do a standard Southern Belle voice for Honey. I can't also do it for Cadance. The thing is Cadance shows up in like the 4th paragraph or something on here. Oh, hey, comma, welcome to the stream. Oh, and what is that, Desk? What is the "oh, by the way"? Do tell. I am very interested. Ooh, character naming conventions. What is Drake's naming conventions? You never think to include moi into your character conventions? I feel so left out with everything. I staunchly refuse this fact. It will give them the English translation of every single name. Well, just so you know, I speak some Swedish, so there. If I can speak some Swedish, I could probably speak some Welsh. Not much Swedish. I can speak some, though. Just not much. But Cadance. How would I do Cadance? Funny thing is that Swift kind of took my voice that I was originally planning for Cadance. So I think I'm gonna have to choose another one. Thing is that Swift doesn't even show up in the story for all that much, except for some parts here and there. I mean, the same could be said about Cadance, but let's see. Like, funny thing that you peeps don't know about how I did the Chrysalis voice, which I was planning on doing it for Cadance, so that way when they switched that way when the Chrysalis replaced Cadance, it would be a lot harder to detect, and it would be easier on me, so I didn't have to switch between remembering whether or not this was actual Cadance or Chrysalis Cadance. It made sense at the time. It doesn't now, but that's besides the point. And this is how I did Chrysalis's voice. It definitely doesn't sound nasally at all. Yes, the Eyalupa, the Har-Ar, the Gotthard, the unicorn. And then Celestia sounds like this. Luna will probably sound like this. Like, Luna will just be a deep bass. And then Cadance, I don't know what I want to do with Cadance. Like everyone just gives her the Princess Barbie voice, but she actually doesn't sound like that at all. Comma, what does she sound like? Please, let me know. What does she sound like? Well, you do you. No, tell me. Tell me. I need to know. Also, someone after the stream yesterday showed me a way easier way of editing my story so I can actually produce weekly chapters. Yeah! Because it won't take me an hour to edit out breathing anymore. It'll just take me an hour to do the entire editing process instead of an hour and a half. A gay vampire. So it sounds like Twilight, right? Okay, so I got the sparkly vampire queen thing, which is fittingly enough like what like like what Chrissy is. So that perfectly fits this. It definitely does sound like the perfect voice for Miss Chrysalis. But yeah, I still know how to do Cadance's voice. Let's see how far I can get without having to go across that bridge, shall we? Our march back to Canterlot was an interesting thing. The other recruits looked to myself in shining armor with a great deal of surprise and wonder, though quite obviously to his own efforts with the shield had been far greater import than my random attacks. Any unicorn of sufficient strength could have filled my role with ease. Several of our number seemed to find that ludicrous, but my admittance seemed to... My adamance. Any unicorn... Several of our numbers... There we go. Several of our numbers seemed to find that ludicrous, but my adamance... Celery. Several of our number seemed to find that ludicrous, but my adamance seemed to convince them by the time we arrived at our barracks. By the time the story circulated round to the rest... Several of our number seemed to find that ludicrous, but my Several of our number seemed to find that... Several of our number seemed to find that ludicrous, but my... Why did you put in things... Drake? Why? Oh, hold on. Why is the... There we go. I haven't broken accent yet, so I do not get a typo count. An accent. Oh, by the way, I updated the counters. Yay! So now I actually have a rival counter to V's. The accent and typo counter. We'll see which one gets dinged first, right? Several of our number seemed to find that ludicrous, but my adamance seemed to convince them by the time we arrived at our barracks. By the time the story circulated around to the rest, I was almost an afterthought, having been part of the fighting, but of a lesser point than Wispy and Bold, who managed to rescue one Dank Woods from the Everfree with the help of a friendly Timberwolf. Mary Meadows was officially missing in action, presumed dead. Unfortunately, the bloody chest plate... Unfortunately, the bloody chest plate we found was not legally enough to be considered remains, and there was no means to gather more. Mary's status would be in flux for at least several years. No. Oh, that's because I didn't put my layers right. There we go. There we go. There, all fixed. Yeah, don't worry, that would have annoyed me too. Mary's status would be in flux for at least several years. Oh, I was wondering why my voice sounds so weird. I didn't have my noise canceling headphones on. Now I sound a lot better. Oh no. Okay, there we go. No, no, I'm not doing cadence with this accent. No. I refuse. I adamantly refuse. I did give you some leeway with the Spiegel's voice, only because of circumstances. But Cadance is a recurring character. I need to give her a better voice than Dank. I found the concept disturbing. A missing drone was a dead drone. I found the concept disturbing. A missing drone was a dead drone. If they returned, they would be set back to work, and the hive would find itself with a small surplus of labor for a period of time, as the Queen controlled our numbers stringently. How do you pronounce that word? Okay. To the internet. Why do they have...
Stringently.
I got it right first time, so... that's just a weird word. I found the concept disturbing. And Clarissa should be Waluigi. Oh no. No, 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 no. Oh no. Oh jeez. I found the concept disturbing. A missing drone was a dead drone. If they returned, they would be set back to work, and the hive would find itself with a small surplus of labor for a period of time, as the Queen controlled our numbers stringently. But it was the nature of ponies to grieve such events. I watched Dank with some concern, but any attempt to soothe his emotions was for naught. They were too confused, too convoluted, and self-sustaining. He felt less like... He felt less... He felt less of a pony, as though something had been torn from him, and though I could not understand it, I reasoned that was though that... He felt less love... He felt less... He felt like less of a pony, as though something had been torn from him, and though I could not understand it, I reasoned that it was enough that they were... Oh man, I'm having a rough time of things tonight. Oh jeez. He felt like less of a pony, as though something had been torn from him, and though I could not understand it, I reasoned that it was as though they were a hive of two all their lives, and now he was alone. I felt he felt like less of a pony, as though something had been torn from him, and though I could not understand it, I reasoned that it was as though they were a hive of two all their lives, and now he was alone. There we go. One is the loneliest number at 12. Two could be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one. One is the loneliest number. In truth, I think he handled the situation better than I would have. My respect for him grew, though I understood he took a leave of absence. In truth, I think he handled the situation better than I would have. My respect for him grew, though I understood he took a leave of absence. Shining explained that such trauma could ruin a pony. Dank's recovery would be slow. In truth, I think he handled the situation better than I would have. My respect for him grew, though I understood he took a leave of absence. Shining explained that such a trauma could ruin a pony. Dank's recovery would be slow, and he would need a lot of support. I fervently hoped he would receive it. The kid that would rat on everyone in that show. I saw a picture of him in prison dressed up like... yes! Someone gets my references! Yes! Yes! That was like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And... yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know who you're talking about because I don't follow those kinds of people, but cool. I follow ponies, not rappers. So in the days that followed... Cool. Nice. Don't know who that is. Because I listen to music. In the days that followed, the four of us that had gone into the forest found ourselves something of a spectacle, to my chagrin. Oh, geez. Yeah, I haven't heard any of this. I don't watch news. I watch YouTube for a living. Oh, some YouTube. While I'm so busy, I watch YouTube when I'm not at my job because reading takes too long. I don't know what Tool is, but rapping is not music. It's just not. People just stop listening to this delusion that you're in. Listen to actually good music, like show tunes or Disney music. I guess they're both the same thing. Yeah, that's the true music right there. In the days that followed, the four of us had gone into the forest. I hit my mic. In the days that followed, the four of us that had gone into the forest found ourselves something of a spectacle. In the days that followed, the four of us had gone... In the days that followed, the four of us that had gone into the ever-free forest... In the days that followed, the four of us that had gone into the forest found ourselves something of a spectacle. Why is this sentence so hard? It's so easy, but so hard. Like a modern Pink Floyd. I don't know too many of Pink Floyd's songs other than the ones my sister really likes. I'm more of a Bon Jovi kind of dude. Like, Piano Man was a favorite of mine. You found the... Yes. Put in the stream... put in the stream chat. Stream-related chat. Oh my gosh, yes. 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 Oh, it's beautiful. It's in the Discord. It's in the Discord in this live stream chat. It looks beautiful. Oh, that looks really good. In the days that followed, the four of us that had gone into the forest found ourselves something of a spectacle, to my chagrin. Our education was coming to an end, it seemed, and most of our training was now purely physical, and I found that being rattled around in a glowing ball of condensed force had left us spiderwebs of shally. What? What was that? Our education was. Our education was coming to an end, it seemed, and most of our training was now purely physical, and I found that being rattled around in a glowing ball of condensed force had left the spiderwebs of shallow, mostly harmless cracks in my shell, now that I had the opportunity to truly feel the minor injury. There, you're not good. And so many memes, yes. Our education was coming to an end, it seemed, and most of our training was now purely physical, and I found that being rattled around in a glowing ball of condensed force have left us spiderwebs of shallow, mostly harmless cracks in my shell, now that I had the opportunity to truly feel the minor injuries. Still, every stretch and flex seemed to bring about well-earned pain, and I took some pride in that I could continue to ignore it, even as the others compared their bruises with good humor. Shining regaled the others with how. Still, every stretch and flex seemed to bring about a well-earned pain, and I took some pride in that I could continue to ignore it, even as the others compared their bruises with good humor. Shining regaled the others with how Bold had grabbed the Timberwolf by the jaws like a wrestler, screamed in its face, and given it a pile driver into a fallen tree, which seemed accurate, but at the same time embellished, and Order knew what a pile driver was. Bold countered that Shining had leapt into the mouth of a giant Timberwolf when it attempted to eat me, plugged its mouth with a shield, and nearly suffocated the monster as it flailed its head around, and with a cry of "choke on it" that made the other soldiers laugh uproariously. I had heard no such battle cry, but reasoned that I had heard no such battle cry, but reasoned I hadn't I had heard no such battle cry, but reasoned that I had almost certainly not been paying attention. I had heard no such battle cry, but reasoned that I had almost certainly not been paying attention. No, I hit Control C. Roars. I had heard no such battle cry, but reasoned that I had almost certainly not been paying attention. I had heard no such battle cry, but reasoned that I had almost certainly not been paying attention. Oh my gosh, some memes are flooding in. Oh my gosh, the memes. They are flooding in. All that aside, I was quite looking forward to relaxing my native form as we prepared to leave when we were ordered to form up for a surprise inspection. This was not an Man, the struggle is real today. Oh no. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had happened less and less often as training went on, and we began to meet the sergeant's demands. I had nearly been apoplectic.
Apoplectic.
Apoplectic, overcome with anger, extremely indigent. Something. Indigent, however you pronounce that word. Apoplectic.
Apoplectic.
Apoplectic. There we go. Yes, I can read words. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had happened less and less often as training went on, and we began to meet the sergeant's demands. I had nearly been apoplectic during This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had happened less and less often as training went on, and we began to meet the sergeant's demands. I had nearly been apoplectic when during one such barracks inspection, not perfect. If he was furious, why not put furious, not apoplectic? Because I thought it was going to mean something completely different. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had happened less and less often as training went on, and we began to meet the sergeant's demands. I had nearly been apoplectic when during one such. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it happened. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had. Why are there so many memes of this guy that I've never heard of before? This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had. This was not an uncommon occurrence, though it had happened less and less often as training went on, and we began to meet the sergeant's demands. I had nearly been apoplectic when during one such barracks inspections. Why is this so hard to read? V, I blame you. I had nearly been apoplectic when during one such barracks inspection, my rack had been found wanting and therefore overturned. Shining warned me that it was likely nothing I'd done, merely meant to keep me on the tips of my hooves, but I recognized my failure and sought to rectify it with greater efforts. Shining attempted to point out that the intention was uniformity, not perfection. I decided that one day he would understand that the goal should be uniform perfection. Still, I was reasonably confident that we would pass a parade inspection in full gear, regardless of the myriad of dents to ourselves and our armor. Still, I was reasonably confident that we would pass a parade inspection in full gear, regardless of the myriad of dents to ourselves and our armor. The armorer would repair the worst of the damage over the weekend. It would be our duty to refine his work during the following training. Not an ideal for inspection, but supposedly acceptable. It would be our duty to. Not ideal for an inspection, but supposedly acceptable in the situation. Yes, we just sign the ocean paper and get back to work with actually reading it. Man, so far, nothing in the typo counters. I'm a little bit saddened, in all honesty. There is no typos right now. Ugh. Or maybe I'm missing something. Let me know if I'm missing typos. You can't let V get away with any typos that managed to get past me. And then Power Incarnate walked onto the parade grounds. I am incapable of expressing what I saw, what I experienced. This was no simple being, no sentient creature of mere physical flesh and bone. Celestia, praise her, is many things, powerful, beautiful, and wise, but even at her strongest, I am able to look upon her. But even at her strongest, I am able I am incapable of expressing what I saw, what I experienced. This was no simple being, no sentient creature of mere physical flesh and bone. Celestia, praise her, is many things, powerful, beautiful, wise, but even at her strongest, I am able to look upon her. When Princess Cadance first stood before me. When Princess Cadance first stood before me and was introduced. When Princess Cadance first stood before me and was introduced, I knew the truth of how insignificant I truly am. This was no mere sunny warmth from Celestia. It was a molten inferno of raw, unimaginable might. Power poured forth from her like a tsunami, and it was all I could do to weather the storm that was she. My body hurt from the pressure around it, and none of the others so much as noticed. When I was told she would be performing this When I was told she would be performing this surprise inspection to allow her to choose 2 ponies to have the privilege of escorting. All right. Whew. Man, my... Okay, we are so close to reading the first lines from Cadance that I need to figure something out really quick. Oh, man. Please, ideas. Please, like, serious ideas. I need help figuring out how Cadance will sound like. Noticed. When I was told she would be performing this surprise inspection to allow her to choose 2 ponies to have the When I was told she would be performing this surprise inspection to allow her to choose 2 ponies to have the privilege of escorting her around Campula for the day, I knew terror. I would be found wanting, must be found wanting, and had never any right to stand in her presence. I was no warrior drone, no defender of any realm by... I was no warrior drone, no defender of the realm by blood, and... She stopped beside me, staring at shining armor, imperiously, amusement... She stopped beside me, staring at shining armor imperiously. Amusement wafted from him. Amusement! He'd been driven mad. I just love Idol's rants so much.
Oh my gosh, the possessed right? Very good. This is how she sounds like, right?
Oh no, it's just like a really growly voice, right? I don't know. I haven't seen The Exorcist. I know. I don't watch many classic movies. I'm sorry.
Is this art or a mistake?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Like, oh man, imitating her voice.
But who cares? We're not changing diapers.
Shining armor!
What? Apparently, I am what one of my coworkers say, one of my coworkers constantly screams mentally from his head, constantly, whenever he chats to me, "You uncultured swine!" Because I have no idea what throw mama from the trade is. What is that? What? What? What is that? What? What is this? What? What?
Who the hell are you?
I'm Owen's friend.
Owen doesn't have a friend.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Isn't this like from isn't she like the same person in like The Sopranos? Or something like that? I never watched The Sopranos. I've just only seen a few clips from it. But isn't she from The Sopranos? She looks so familiar. I don't know. My blood and She stopped beside me, staring at shining armor imperiously. Amusement wafted from him. Amusement! He'd been driven mad by her presence. I would attempt to put his mind together again later, when it did not displease her or draw her attention. Now I have to do it! I have to figure out something. I have to figure out something now. Oh, man. Thing is that I have to have different voices for all three of the princesses. Ah, man. I do have a voice for Celestia. I don't know why I went like this, but this is the voice I chose for Celestia. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, not from Sopranos. Okay. I could have sworn she looks very similar to someone I saw in The Sopranos. I don't know. Start with a Karen voice and work your way out from there. I was going to try and work from like a teenager-y voice and work out from there, but that works just as well. But because like. And like all the female voices are starting to just get really squished together, because Topaz, as everyone knows, Topaz is just up here. Like it's really easy to do Topaz's voice, because I don't have to do anything with it. And I know exactly where Topaz is at all times. Swift is down here and kinda almost sounds like Topaz, but a little bit different. A little bit different, not as high pitched, and a little bit more serious. And then you get to Zamer. There now, no tears, you're safe. Zamer is just pretty much just accented Celestia, let's be honest here, which I didn't intend to when I first voiced her. But how should I do Cadance? I was thinking of doing something like this, but I don't know if it sounds ridiculous or not. You and you. Or this should be Luna. I don't know what to do with my voice. I need the chat's guiding wisdom. Should I do although if I was going to do a voice for something right here, it would be it would have to be a southern voice, because that's what they all come from. All the sound comes from the back of the throat. But Cadance is going to be interesting. Cadance is going to be very interesting. And V, why are you saying, oh God? Try to do a Karen's voice. Is it because of the Karen's voice or my other voicing of bringing all the characters together? But Cadance. Like, it's Cadance. I can't do a silly voice or a serious voice because she's not that serious at all. She's more flirty than anything else. So, should it be like Should it be like this voice? No, that's Celestia again. No. Oh man, just imagine if I did Cadance like this. She's just way down here. She's just a deep bass. But oh man. This is going to turn into another Dink situation, isn't it? Although Dink was actually... This is going to turn into another Bold situation, isn't it? Bold? Yeah. Bold. Yes. Bold. This is going to turn into another Bold situation. And that's not the worst part. I think Moth Chaser also shows up in this chapter, and I have to find a voice for her, too. So you might be getting double doses of this week. Of my indecision of choosing a voice and sticking to it. Well, let's see. How about... Sounding breathy doesn't really scream Cadance, does it? How about... Moth Chaser's voice should be easy. You think that? You think that it would be easy. But sometimes it's not. I haven't even run into a voice I'm like, that's Moth Chaser's voice. Like I did with that Swiftwing's voice. You just have to be 1,000% horny on main all the time. Oh man. Oh man. Hello, tall, dark, and handsome. Like that could be very easily Moth Chaser's voice. Hello. Oh yes, you may. Yes, this is my actual voice. Just something like this. Although that could fit for Luna, like not as sensual, but that could work for Luna's voice too. Oh man. Just start with a bunch of super over-the-top voices. Oh no. I don't know. I never looked into something like that. I know it was like a running joke in some shows. I know Malcolm in the Middle did a reference to it one time, but I don't know if they still exist. Yeah, I have no idea. But yes, I think this should... That sounds closer to Chrissy. I think this should do perfectly well for Moth Chaser. A little bit more breathy, but it's a little bit more breathy than I was wanting to do for the Bat Pone. But I think we all have to make sacrifices, don't we? I might have to change up Chrysalis's voice, too. I mean, it's been long enough that no one ever remembers what her voice sounds like, so there's that. There's that going for me. If you want to hear my best, erotic mode. If you want to hear stuff like that, listen to Idle Hooves or the Devil's Tools, written by Swirled Eyes, narrated by Equinox 3141. Because that is what I did a lot of the chapter. I think for Cadance in that story I did, really, Auntie? I did like the super uppity voice the entire time. You and you. The two of you will do. Just like super just like super snobbish voice. Oh, man. I don't, but usually my Colfin doesn't get himself into trouble and kill giant monsters against my orders. You promised! Don't give me that. Like, oh man, I don't know what to do for her voice. Oh good lord. V's just watching the whole thing just break down. Like, and he's not even as saying which parts is just like the worst for him. He's just like his general reactions of, oh god, why? You promise, sweetie. Like, Oh my gosh, imagine that being Moth Chaser. Well, I'm sure we could find a room together. Right, Idol? What do I have to do to get into your room? Just ask. That's all it takes. What? You mean after all I had to do was ask to be in your like? Just, oh man, that sounds more Moth Chaser. Like, I do want to give her the deeper voice, just so it can be funnier. But just having her with that slight little to her voice just makes it even better. Oh man. But this sounds more like a moth chaser, right? Right, V, right? Does this sound like what you imagined for, for moth chaser? Oh gosh. You see her as an actress of some sort. Okay. Okay. But now I have a voice for Moth Chaser. For Moth Chaser, when we get to her later in either this chapter or the next chapter. I think it's next chapter. Or something like that. Now it's this chapter, and I have to worry about Cadance right now. Or should Cadance be down here? Should Cadance be down here? Not like that, but... I see her as an actress of some sorts, but really just one of the boys, but has no problems acting like a woman when needed. But yeah, like, doing female voices is what I was the most afraid of when starting this project. Mainly because I don't know how to do them, and I kind of stumbled into most of the voices I did for them by complete accident. I mean, Topaz, I just basically went, so it's just higher, right? That's all I do for doing this stuff? Okay, I can do higher. I'll talk even faster because she's a little bit flighty like that. One voice for all. Can I pitch shift? I don't know what that means. Do you mean can I go into my falsetto? Yes, I can absolutely do that. I just can't do it very often because it's been a while since I've practiced doing that high. But for the most part, I have this one range. I don't know what pitch shifting is. I'll have to look it up. Oh, in editing. I don't want to do that though, because as many of you don't know, is that Changeling of the Guard is kind of like a what is it called? Audition reel. It's like an audition reel. I want to be able. This is basically me finding the range of my own voice, so I can eventually apply this to actually doing, to actually doing regular audiobooks, and getting paid for it, so I can do a job where I can be at home all day, which will be fantastic. But that also means I can't do that much editing, which is why you don't find like music in the background of any of my chapters. You don't find any extreme editing, except for I do make exceptions for Chrysalis and Celestia. One, because I was cheating and trying to find a way to do a female voice but I couldn't because I'm a dude and I wasn't confident in my voice work yet. As well as it was canon to the show, and Celestia because I just wanted to lay over that little hint of just how powerful she was that it kind of just spilled out. Oh, I need to listen to that audiobook soon. I'll try and get listening to it because that sounds really fantastic. But yeah, that's why you don't find too much editing in my things other than taking out breaths and basically doing minor cleanup to audio. Very minimal, because that's pretty much what it's going to be like if I ever like work for Audible or something like that. Welcome to Jurassic Park. And part of doing like voice work, or like if I ever wanted to get into voice acting, for instance, I can't just fix it with just downshifting my voice, or I'll just sound really unnatural, kind of like what they did with Garble a couple times. I'll have to listen to it after. I'll listen to the audiobook after the stream. It sounds really good. And that's why I started this book, because like when I first started, I was crap at doing this stuff. And this is basically all practice / basically an audio reel. So I can show other people my range, what kind of voices I could do, accents as well, which is why I kind of like either throw in as many accents as I can, or just like for characters that I felt like that had an accent, such as Honey. Honey just seemed like the kind of person that always had a bit of a southern accent. So that's why she has a southern accent. I don't know why it bleeds over into all my other characters, but hey, what can you do? But yeah. So Chrysalis, I was planning on doing the same thing, but that would be doing something like this for Cadance. And I don't know if I really want to do something for Cadance, because it sounds very close to my own audio, to my own narrator voice, which might confuse people a little bit. If I do something like this, that might let me have a little bit more control. In fact, I can do something like this for Cadance, because it almost fits in her personality. I know she has a higher voice in the show, but I can't go that high, so I have to kind of make do with what I have. And that's why Moth Chaser will most likely sound like this. But hey, let me know. Should Cadance have the one I picked out for Moth Chaser, or vice versa? Let me know quickly. Should Cadance have a voice this deep, or should that be saved for another male character eventually coming down the line? I mean, I have to be able to, and I can't do even extreme voice, extreme pitches either, because I'll have to be able to emote with these two, which will be really hard. Desk, you're banned from voting. You're just banned from voting. Hey, what were you thinking, Shining? You promised you wouldn't go into the Every. Do you have any idea how scared I was? Do you have any idea how mad I am? Sounds a little bit like my narrator voice, but I hope that it will be different enough that it won't be so confusing. Because I've seen a couple people express confusions of, is this Idol talking or is it the narrator? That's why I try and do Idol's voice kind of like this, while my regular voice is just how I talk. And then if I did Shining like this is more talking through my nose. And it's yay! Woo! Ty thinks it works. So we're going on this crazy train, and if it fails, we can blame Ty. Hashtag blame Ty. Or hashtag blame desk. That's what we should do. Hashtag blame desk. You and you. Her rosy hoof lifted at Shining, and then myself. We were clearly inadequate and to be destroyed. I wondered if I could will myself to death, so as not to further upset her. Perhaps he had known we would fail, and sought to meet his doom with a smile. I tried my own, but it felt weak and foolish. The two of you will do. The two of you will do. She started off, and Shining took a single step backwards, leaving the formation gracefully, and I endeavored to do the same, now utterly and completely confused. How could we, of all ponies, be worthy of... She had surely heard of the slaying of the Timberwolf. Perhaps she had been misled. Confused. How could we... How could we, of all ponies, be worthy of... She had surely heard the slaying of the Timberwolf. Perhaps that had been misled. We could not... I marched resolutely alongside her, and just behind her and to the left, mirroring Shining Armor on her right, mind ablaze with how to correct all of this. I would serve as well as I could, and perhaps she would show mercy. Also, Shining Armor's last name isn't capitalized, V. Yes, I do pay attention to capitalization. Woo! As such, it was with great consternation that I froze when she spun on Shining, and as soon as we walked into an As such, it was with great consternation that I froze when she spun on Shining as soon as we walked into an empty hallway and proceeded to try and consume his head. No, not moving the goal. What? What are you talking about? I'm here to help V. I'm helping him to learn from his mistakes, like Shining Armor. He has two names, and they both need to be capitalized. Like, man, imagine the confusion people would be like seeing armor in the sentence and having it not be capitalized so they don't know it's part of this character's name. Like, that'd be just so confusing. So I'm just really helping him out, and by helping him out, he's helping the rest of us out. Right. To my despair, he was attempting the same. I wondered briefly if I should assist one of them. It only made me more stunned and horrified when I realized the sounds that they were making were entirely inappropriate before she shoved him away, nearly tipping him over. He had the audacity to grin at her. The hey were you thinking, Shining? You promised you wouldn't go into the Everfree. Do you have any idea how scared I was? Do you have any idea how mad I am? Well, I might. I think you bit my tongue, Katie. What was with the inspection thing? I thought you said you didn't like doing that. I mean, you can't expect anyone who reads this to be a brony. Ridiculous. Funny enough. Funny you should mention that, Ty. Funny you should mention that. Because I have 3 people from work and 2 of my family members, which are not bronies, by the way, that are listening to the story without being bronies. So checkmate. My breath caught at his familiarity. He had shortened her name. I had trusted his judgment. This could not be allowed to stand. She huffed. I don't, usually, but my cult friend doesn't usually get himself into trouble and kill giant monsters against my orders. My orders. No, and they do not watch my streams, probably. If they start doing so, I might have to rate these more mature. That's why Idle Hooves Are the Devil's Tools is rated mature, by the way, because I don't want my nephew finding this. Even though it is PG-13 at most. Ah. I don't, but usually my cult friend doesn't usually get... I don't usually, but my cult friend doesn't usually get himself into trouble and kill giant monsters against my orders. You promised. Oh, come on, Katie. I told you. Oh, come on, Katie. I told them you said I wasn't allowed. Don't give me that. Eat it. Eat it. I finally interjected very quietly, horrified that I was interrupting this divine being. I cleared my throat. I finally interjected very quietly, horrified that I was interrupting this divine being. I cleared my throat, trying to speak with the deference. I finally interjected very quietly, horrified that I was interrupting this divine being. I cleared my throat, trying to speak with the deference she deserved, even as my mind reeled from these new discoveries. I cleared my throat, trying to speak with deference as she deserved. I cleared my throat, trying to speak with the deference she deserved, even as I cleared my throat, trying to speak with the deference as she deserved, as my mind reeled from these new discoveries. There we go. It just barely made it. Specifically, he said you wouldn't allow it. My own audacity was horrifying. I had defended my squad mate, and this was good, but against his queen. Order, perhaps the Timberwolves had changed something loose within me. I love idle panicking. Panicking idle is like the best. My own audacity. Audacity. My own audacity was horrifying. I had defended my squad mate, and this was good, but against his queen. Order, perhaps the Timberwolves had changed something loose within me. Her glare cut at me, and I felt like my armor was being pared away. Her glare cut at me, and I felt like my armor was being pared away by the intensity of it. But then she laughed, and the music that came with it was havoc on my senses. Her glare cut at me, and it felt like my armor was being pared away by the intensity of it. But then she laughed, and the music that came with it was havoc on my senses. I bet he told him exactly that, too. She looked me up and down. You must be Idle Hooves. Shining's told me all about you. My Ichor? How do I pronounce?
Ichor.
Yeah, no one ever... Ichor is one of those words that everyone knows but doesn't know how to pronounce, right? Like, what's another word that everyone knows how to read but wouldn't be able to pronounce it to save their life? Like, seriously, they recognize what Ichor means, but they just, like, couldn't pronounce it to save their lives. Like, there's two ones that I constantly see as Ichor is Ichor, and what is it? Not carapace. Indefinitely. Read, there, and there. But also, it was one that I learned at the beginning of this story that I can't remember right now. What was it? It was Superfragilisticexpialidocious. Everyone knows how to read that one, though. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. But it was something that like, phonetically was completely wrong, but mentally read pretty well. I can't remember the name of it. I might remember it later and put it in the chat or something like that. You'll just see like a pinned comment from me being like, "It was this word." My Iker felt like it. My Iker felt as though it had turned solid. What a shining set of me. What? Huh? Nope. Up. My Iker felt as though it had turned solid. What a shining set of me. What? My Iker felt as though it had turned solid. What a shining set of me. What? What? Her forelegs wrapped around my neck, and I obligingly stretched it, allowing myself to be strangled. She was doing so gently, and so I held my... Her forelegs wrapped around my neck, and I obligingly stretched it, allowing myself to be strangled. She was doing so gently, and so instead I held my breath. It was entirely inappropriate for me to force this divine being to work on my behalf, after all. "Hey!" Shining cried in alarm. "What the hey?" What the hey? Compassion from Shining. "Hey!" Shining cried in alarm. "What the hey?" "Hey! What the hey?" Compassion from Princess Cadance flowed into me, and I was intensely aware of how incredibly concerned for Shining she had truly been. I had, according to some stories, kept him alive. My concern spread to the fact that I had never held so much emotion. Also, contraction. Woo! And it wasn't carapace. What was that word? It's going to drive me crazy until I can actually find out what that word was. I remember it drove me insane, and I still read it wrong sometimes to this day. Compassion from Princess Cadance flowed into me, and I was intensely aware of how incredibly concerned for Shining she had truly been. I had, according to some stories, kept him alive. My concern spread to the fact that I had never held so much of the emotion in my entire life. My shell felt as though I was... My shell felt as though I were long... My shell felt as though I... My shell felt as though I were... My shell felt as though I were long overdue for a molt, and I wondered if it was possible that I could simply burst under the strain. My shell felt as though I were long overdue for a molt, and I wondered if it was possible that I could simply burst under the strain. I mean, that would be very awkward for Cadance to hug someone, and then they explode. Twice. Just imagine like how horrified Cadance would be, just a hug, and then boom. Buggy popcorn. She hugs them. They turn into the changelings. They turn into Space Bambi. "I'm sure he's kept you out of trouble, and for that he gets a hug. Also, I'm hugging him so I don't strangle you. I have a lot of emotions right now, and I'm trying to sort through them, So you told them. I'm sure he's kept your tail out of trouble, and for that he gets a hug. Also, I'm hugging him so I don't strangle you. I have a lot of emotions right now, and I'm trying to sort through them. So you told them that I had forbidden you from going into the Everfree? Did you even mention who I was?" "It was not my fault they didn't verify the orders were from a higher authority." He gave a small sigh. "But you know how this has to work, Cadance." He shifted restlessly, just a touch of jealousy wafting our way. She pouted, and I was forced to question what madness allowed him to She pouted, and I was forced to question what madness allowed him to deny her anything. No, I don't. Auntie even said I could just declare you my captain, and you were my right. And that was my right. No, I don't. Auntie even said I could just declare you my captain, and that was my right. You don't have to do this. Her forelegs tightened around me, forcing my head into her chest. I stared resolutely at Shining and tried very hard not to think. I bet she said it's technically your right, Shining snickered, bizarrely immune to her expression. Strangely, I was the recipient of this. I bet she said it's technically your right, Shining snickered, bizarrely immune to her expression. Strangely, I was the recipient of his distress. Come on, Katie, you hate it when ponies just do whatever you tell them to. I need to earn this. And quit hunking idle, that's not fair. I'm being reasonable here. If any pony only does what I tell them because I have your authority, then I only have authority when you're around. Well, maybe I want you around all the time. And I want to protect you, and Equestria, and I don't want to be some trophy stallion. Well, I would like to have you mounted. She blinked, then blushed, seeming to recall my presence and quickly pushing me away. Forgive me, Mr. Hooves, that was very inappropriate of me. Very inappropriate of me. Also, how do people like this voice of Cadance now that I've been doing it for a while now? Now that I've read most of her lines in this voice. Not in the voice I've been, but in some voice that sounds like this. What do y'all think? Let me know. Be truthful about it, because I really want to nail Cadance's voice properly, because she's one of the 4 main characters, right? Yeah. Shining, Idle, Topaz, Shining, and Cadance, the 4 main characters, right? That's how it works, right? So, yeah. Let me know. Thank you. Thank you, Desk. Don't know if I should be trusting your judgment, but thank you, Desk. You are the princess, and You are the princess, and determined what is and is not appropriate. I need only to acquiescence.
Acquiesce.
Acquiesce. This is your 3rd word of the day, courtesy of VTrix77. Why? Why do you do this to me? You are the princess, and determine what is and is not inappropriate. I only need to acquiesce to those whims. I tried to parse what I had been able to understand of those statements. He was in clear disobedience to her, and she oddly approved? No. I tried to parse what I had been able to understand of those statements. He was in clear disobedience to her, and oddly she approved? Also, typo for contraction. Woo! Princess Cadance slowly tilted her head, eyeing me with clear bemusement. Is he always like this? More often than not, yeah. It's nice, right? Blunt, like getting kicked in the head. We should keep him. We should keep him. We should keep him. We should keep him, she stated cheerfully, clapping her hooves together. She stated cheerfully, clapping her hooves together. Keep me where, your majesty? Keep me where, your majesty? Please, call me Cadance. I think after what you've been through with Shining, you can drop the formality. Oh, man. Oh man, Idle 404 has idle.exe has crashed. Would you like to reboot? Tap the snoot. Boop the snoot to confirm. Call her Cadance. Drop the formality. She was a princess. Call her Cadance. Drop the formality. She was Princess Cadance. Formality. A princess of Equestria. Call her Cadance. Formality. I was a drone, so far beneath her that I should not have had the right to speak to her without first being addressed, and to speak to her so rudely. I might even add an echo effect to that because it's just so good. Call her Cadance. Drop the formality. She was Princess Cadance. She was Princess Cadance. Hold on. I need to do that even better. Call her Cadance. Drop the formality. She was Princess Cadance. Formality. A princess of Equestria. Call her Cadance. Formality. I was a drone, so far beneath her that I should not have had the right to speak to her without first being addressed. To speak to her so rudely. Ah, man. I love when Idle just crashes. Let's see how this sounds. Call her Cadance. Drop the formality. She was Princess Cadance. Formality. A princess of Equestria. Call her Cadance. Formality. I was a drone, so far beneath her that I should not have had the right to speak to her without first being addressed. To speak to her so rudely. Call her Cadance. Call her Cadance. Formality. Call her Cadance. Formality. Just have those underlying echoes as he's just, nope, 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 oh no. Shining blinked, giving me a shake. Idle, are you all right? Tartarus, it's not that big of a deal. In a strangled voice, I managed. I do not think I... hold on. I can't really do a strangled voice, because if I do that, then it's going into different voices, and I cannot do that well. I do not think I can do that. It would be unworthy. It would be unworthy. I do not think I can do that. It would be unworthy. Well, I think it's absolutely fine. You've earned it. She looked to Shining with confusion. My distress was upsetting her. This only made the distress increase. Maybe only in private. You could keep calling her princess in public, same as I do. Princess Cadance nodded. That seemed far more reasonable, and I felt myself begin to relax. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I swallowed, my mouth surprisingly dry. I could obey that, I thought. She wanted to be insulted, perhaps? I could think of no other reason I should tell her her name so. It pleased her to be treated unpleasantly? I could think of no other reason I should sully her name so. It pleased her to be treated unpleasantly? No, that was unreasonable, was it? Ponies were crazy after all. I could think of no other reason I should sully her name so. It pleased her to be treated unpleasantly? No, that was unreasonable, was it? Ponies were crazy after all. Oh, man. I love Idle's breakdowns. They need to happen more often. Idle breakdowns. Idle breakdowns written by VDrake77. Oh, coming soon. After There's Something About Mary. Or even just Katie, she offered hopefully. I decided I would never call her such to her face. I would attempt to refer to her or even just Katie, she offered hopefully. I decided I would never call her such to her face. I decided I would never call her such to her face. I would attempt to refer her to... I decided I would never call her such to her face. I would attempt to refer to her as such with shining armor. I decided I would never call her such to her face. I would attempt to refer her... Why is this sentence so hard? I decided I would never call her such to her face. I would attempt to refer to her as such with shining armor, but doing more would be too great a sin. Yes, Cadance. I shall endeavor to do so. She stared at me, and I managed to resist the urge to fidget under her glare. I still felt too much energy within my shell from our brief contact, and I would have to do something about that. I had to admit, though, it felt rather... I shall endeavor to do so. She stared at me, and I managed to resist the urge to fidget under her glare. I still felt too much energy within my shell from our brief contact, and I would have to do something about that. I had to admit, though, it felt rather nice. My aches and pains had faded to nothing after she had released me, and I wondered if I would even be able to see traces of those cracks upon my shell. She stared at me, and I managed to resist the urge to fidget under her glare. I still felt too much energy from within my shell from our brief contact, and I'd have to do something about that. I had to admit, though, it felt rather nice. My aches and pains had faded to nothing after she had released me, and I wondered if I would be even able to see traces of those cracks upon my shell. It's a start. It's a start. Now, Shining. I want to know what happened in that forest. No exaggeration, no embellishments. I just want to know if you're all right. Shining gave me a look, then nodded slowly, and I found myself mimicking the gesture. All right, truth, and nothing but. All right. Gosh, he's slipping into a small chat. Oh no, nope. Reverse that. Yeah, the voice is dropping already. This is cause for alarm. All right, truth and nothing but. He bit his lip for a moment. We went to check in on a guard post. He bit his lip for a moment. We went in to check on a guard post. One guard was a little disturbed and the other was missing. We spent the night, intent on looking for the missing guard in the morning, if possible. After that, found a dead manticore outside, buried it. Timberwolves started showing up. We fought. A larger one showed up, came after me and Idol. They all got distracted by my shield, and everyone escaped into woods. We found its lair by mistake while looking for shelter, and we killed it in self-defense when it showed up. The others backed off, and we were safe until the next morning. A very succinct telling, I decided. I nodded my agreement. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, was it though? Shining scoffed. Nah, it was really nothing. Soldier talk, you know? Make it sound like a big deal. He noticed her eyes narrowing slightly. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was more dangerous than I liked. Rather, I'd not go anywhere near the Everfree again if I can help it. Right, Idol? Only if ordered, sir, and reluctantly at that, I admitted. What do you mean accent? I never slipped into any accent other than Shining's. I mean, accents, especially when concerning to Idol's voice, where he just sounds like a smoker for his entire life. I mean, if anyone other than Vidre can, back you up on that, then sure, I'll add it to the accent counter. But I don't feel like I slipped enough into an accent. I don't think I slipped enough into an accent for it to be counted, because I didn't really slip into. If I started going southern in the middle of that whole explanation, then maybe I would be able to. I only did it as I didn't do it as part of the story. This only counts as for recording of the story, or else I would get nowhere with the accent counter, other than it constantly going up. Because when I'm talking to you guys, I do random accents all the time. Listen, he did it. Oh, fine. Even though I think you're wrong, I shall consent. I did the accents outside of the recording on purpose. Inside the recording, unless it's dictated by the character, they are by accident. I did not hear an accent, or else I would have usually done my breakdown of "He's not Southern" all over again. As most of my recordings go, no one actually turned Southern this time. Maybe Bold will after the commercial break. See, Drake, we're both in the doghouse now because we're both at the mercy of the chat. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Speaking of breakdowns, oh God, what is that? Oh my God. I didn't hear an accent because I was doing an accent. Oh no. Oh God, what the hell is that? Oh jeez. Well, thing is, Drake, I have to be very careful about my accents, or else characters will suddenly turn Southern, or British, or Jamaican sometimes, depending on how bad my accent's going, or just suddenly turn Russian. Just seeing the thumbnail in that thing disturbs me. I'm not going to get any sleep tonight. Thanks a lot. I preferred not to sleep tonight anyways, especially at the witching hour. Like, that looks like what the man sitting at the end of your bed looks like before you turn on the lights and it's just a pile of clothing. Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. Someone spam the chat in the Discord so I don't have to see that anymore. Oh, God. Thing is that looks like Wallace a little bit. It looks terrible. Like, oh God. Thank you. No, not spamming that. No. No. Stop it. You know what I mean. No. There we go. Whew. I can't say anymore. Think good. Think good. Just think good. I admitted. She seemed mollified. She seemed mollified. Well, all right, but no heroics. Well, all right, but no heroics. She waved a hoof at him. Well, all right, but no heroics. She waved a hoof at him. No, not in YouTube chat. In Discord chat. Oh, geez. I mean, that's not nearly as bad as the other one, but that's still creepy. Yeah, no. Don't spam YouTube chat. Please don't spam YouTube chat. But do spam Discord chat. Erase the mistakes that that desk put in. Comma. Why are you doing this to me? No, I will not listen because I don't want to get copyright claimed and whatnot because YouTube. No! No! You cannot make me. Oh, jeez, it's getting bigger. No. No! Well, alright, but no heroics. But no heroics. Well, alright, but no heroics. But no heroics. Well, alright, but no heroics. She waved a hoof at him. If you die, I'll kill you, and then I'll be a necromancer and a murderess. So where would that leave us? A graveyard? I offered hesitantly. That was where necromancers traditionally did their rituals. Shining had offered hesitantly. There we go. That was where necromancers traditionally did their rituals, Shining had explained. That was where necromancers traditionally did their rituals, Shining had explained, though it would be more convenient for putting him in the grave again, I supposed. A coliseum is more likely, Shining admitted. It's like a fancy indoor graveyard. A mausoleum. It's not a fancy... Wait, I'm doing... Okay. I will admit that is Topaz's voice that briefly took over Cadance. So, technically not an accent, but I will admit that is not Cadance's voice. A mausoleum. It's not a fancy... It's more complicated than that. A mausoleum. It's not a fun... A mausoleum. It's not a fun... Not fancy. Not a function. A mausoleum. A mausoleum. A mausoleum. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. A mausoleum. It's not a fancy. It's more complicated than that. Cadance began, and I began to relax as she smiled, seemingly exasperated. Somehow he had won this entity's favor, and serving him had in effect earned her favor for myself as well. I pondered this understanding most of what had been said was not intended for me. And you'd know that if you paid more attention. Honestly, what sort of paladin doesn't know the difference between a mausoleum and a coliseum? And I'm not sure what sort of ranger pays so much attention to the dark arts. You're getting an alignment shift next time we play. I'm telling you right now. Oh, no. No jamming off the table. Oh, no. No jamming off table. And I was reasonably sure it was in some sort of personal code. You do still owe me for the Everfree. You do still owe me for the Everfree. You did promise. Aw, Katie, come on. He lolled his head from side to side, rolling his eyes comically. I told you. No buts. You are coming with me to the Grand Galloping Gala this year. She lifted her nose into the air as she walked. She lifted her nose into the air as she walked, a pristine example of grace, I decided. Shining only blinked, having missed a step in his concern. Oh, well, that's not so bad. Cadance sucked in a breath through her upturned nose, coughed, and then started laughing. There was pure, wicked joy in that tone. Oh, poor foolish Shining. Even I knew better than to tempt fate like that. Oh. Oh, poor foolish Shining. Even I knew better than to tempt fate like that. Oh, man. Yes. There we go. Oh, man. And there we go. Even I knew it. Woo! And that was Chapter 25, Military Cadance. And I think next time is when we... Next time, Chapter 26, Hot Damn. Oh, man, I love these chapter titles. They're always so great. But yeah, what did you guys think of the... What did you guys think of Cadance's voice? Anything you would have changed with Cadance's voice, other than, you know, actually being able to do actual Cadance's voice? But yeah, it's really fun. You should make her sound like a woman. Oh, if only I could do that. It's not like Topaz has the same treatment you brought to her. Although, like, it's funny how Cadance and Shining Armor, as they interacted, more and more their voice mingled. Cadance sounded more and more rough as I went on trying to voice her. She started picking up the age-old smoking habit. But yeah, this was pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good. And like you, I cannot wait for the next chapter. And I can even show you some of this, this new thing that someone told me. Oh god, he's killing us with his secondhand smoke. Does it work through computers? That'd be very interesting if it could. Very, very interesting. But yeah, I found a really much simpler way of doing this whole shebang, and I can do it pretty quickly, even while talking to you guys. Oh gosh, it's so hot in here. Let me open up the blanket. Gosh, blanket fort, you're lovely, but you are way too hot. I'm actually thinking of getting some recording foam for my closet, so that way I can do this without dying of heat. But oh well, it will come eventually. As soon as I find a couple of different things I want to also do, because you know. Oh wait, how am I supposed to do this? Is it like that? I'm gonna have to look up this tutorial again. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try and do this all from memory. Let's see. Outer fade, 0.2, 0.2, and 0, and 0. Will this work? Let's hope. Okay. Alright, let's see. Let's see if this worked. Duplicate this one more time. Duplicate it one more time. And then affect that with 0.3.1. It's actually going a lot faster than last chapter did applying this. Oh gosh. Say again. I found a really easier way of taking away breathing, so I can actually get this out. So I can actually get chapters out, or getting them ready as soon as the live stream's over, pretty much. Other than just listening to it a couple of times, just to make sure I get good spacing and to make sure I didn't mess anything up with this new, like, more automated thing. It's not perfect. Like, my way was more, like, professional-ish, because it made sure I didn't alter any of the actual track, but it also took ages, so I prefer doing this way. Chapter 25, Military Cadance. It took out that entire thing, which I am so glad by. And then I can just do the usual stuff I do, which is like compression, equalization, and then normalize. And which that's how I get that big booming bass. Gotta get the onto it, as well as trying not to blow out your eardrums. Military cadence. And that's how I now edit my chapters. The other recruits looked to myself. You don't even hear the breathing anymore. Surprise and wonder, though quite obviously to his own efforts with the shield had been far greater. Although it's not perfect, it does work for my purposes. Could have filled my role with ease. Several of our numbers seem to find that ludicrous, but my admittance several of our numbers seem to find that ludicrous. But yeah, I don't have to spend ages now doing stuff. And I can save this, and this is a completely, this is, no one wants to do backbreaking work. It's not backbreaking work. I already do not necessarily backbreaking work, but I do a ton of work in my job. But this, it just took too long to do for how little time I had. So you'd actually have to think, would you like me to do this automated stuff and get chapters out more frequently on a more semi-regular basis? Potentially more chapters per week? Or would you have me to do it the old way, where you maybe got 1 or 2 chapters a month? And aren't we in the same generation, comma? I don't. To be honest, I have no idea. But, yeah. That is my new way of just basically taking out all the breaths. I use a thing called Autoduck. Yeah, it's just this cool effect in thing, combined with a few other tricks that allows me to get pretty much almost perfectly no breathing in my recording while still sounding pretty natural. A lot of other YouTubers do this when they want the music to fade as they're talking and then to come back in full volume when they're not talking. That's also what Autoduck is, but I combined it with a few other tricks so that way it also takes out all the breathing. And then I applied that to a different track so that way I get a good quality sound out of it. And, yep. Because this is what the track sounds like after I edit it, so that way there's pretty much no breath. There's no breaths left in it. I think he handled the situation better than I would have. My respect for him grew, though I understood he took a leave of absence. I think he handled the situation better than I would have. My respect for him grew, though I understood he took a leave of absence. Shining explained that such a trauma could ruin a pony. It sounds... you might not be able to hear it, depending on if you have headphones or not, but it sounds a lot cleaner when I do, 3 duplicated tracks just to get this all sorted out, and I keep an original track just in case I mess up so I don't lose my original work. But either way, typo counts wins over the accent counts, and only one of those I will fully admit to counting. The other one I'm a bit iffy on, but still, I win, V. Your move. But with that, I shall actually end the live stream a little bit early, and I can actually start getting the other 4 chapters I have ready for release, and I'll be able to do scheduled releases every single Wednesday this week. And, if I'm feeling generous, maybe even every Saturday. Who knows? I might actually start getting on top of doing Village Called Respite again. Because that was a thing I did last summer. But hey, like I said, leave comments. There are a narrator's food pellet after all. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. It's been a fantastic stream.